It's so important for creators to double down and create communities that trust them. Like, this is the time. I think it's sprinting season for any creator to really develop their unique value proposition on a human level so AI can't take them out.
Hi, everybody. I'm Corrine. Welcome to the Intersect. My guest today is Sammi Cohen. She is the host of show Social Currency, where she talks about all things tech, culture, money, and how we live and why we buy the things that we do. Today, we're going to talk to her about AI and shopping. Sammi, welcome to the Intersect.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Okay, so we're going to get into what's happening with shopping in the now and in the future. So give me the state of digital shopping, as it were, and maybe just your experience, like working in that and how you've thought about that. And plant us in time.
So we were talking about this right before we started filming. I worked at Amazon for 5 years. So I always like to start any type of conversation around the state of retail and e-com with Amazon because they are the 100,000-pound gorilla in the room, right? So Amazon is where right around 40% of all online e-commerce in the US is done. It's really where people are doing their shopping for all essentials, right? Essentials is in the commodified products, the toilet papers, the paper towels, the things that are stuff that you're pretty much going to get on repeat every so often, and they're staples that you kind of can't live without. So there's the Amazon for commodified goods, right? And then there's the mobile shopping that's happening. And right now, mobile shopping, so going to checkout and buying something on your phone is where 60% of global e-commerce is happening right now.
5 minutes ago, ChatGPT didn't exist. Well, really 3 years ago. It just had its birthday. Happy birthday, ChatGPT. You're 3 years old now. It comes into our lives, and it's bringing us a new way to shop, which is agentic.
Mm-hmm.
Can you first explain to us what agentic shopping is and what this means to shop with ChatGPT?
Yeah. So this announcement that just came out, granted, of course, ChatGPT has been around for a few years now, but this latest move into agentic commerce is really the next wave of shopping, because what it means, boiled down very simply, is that instead of the consumer typing into Amazon, I'd like to buy that paper towel, and pressing the one-click checkout in Amazon and having it done, what we're seeing now is with an agent, you can essentially tell your agent via conversational commerce or natural language, please provide me the top, let's say you're looking for running shoes in size 9 and in these colors, right? Your agent will then pull in the options for you. And now with this agentic protocol, it's ACP, so Agentic Commerce Protocol, you can actually have a one-click checkout from ChatGPT from that conversation. So the agent is literally like a digital shopping assistant doing the searching for you, giving you the options, and then enabling you to actually press buy, and it shows up at your house however many shipping days later.
Wow. Okay. That is, it sounds like something that is magic, but it's just here. And I fully expect that to work exactly like you're saying it. But I think a couple of years ago, we would have said, wow, that would be amazing if that existed. But that seems so far off. Have you used it?
So I am not using it yet. So This is still a relatively new rollout. And this integration that OpenAI just announced with Stripe. So first off, their Stripe integration was for that ACP, the Agentic Commerce Protocol, that essentially enables that payment information to come up on your conversation with ChatGPT. Right. So it's still in the process of being rolled out now. And then you have major players like Shopify, which has the millions of merchants that it serves, right? And now Shopify merchants can then be kind of featured in this ChatGPT checkout new feature, right? So I personally haven't used it yet, but will I? Absolutely. And will millions of Americans over the next 6 months to year? Absolutely.
800 million people are using ChatGPT every week. many people that are listening to the show are amongst that cohort, myself included. How can these 800 million people that are using it and the new users use this for shopping? How do you do it?
Yes, there are so many ways that people will be using this. So let's go back to one of the examples that I brought up earlier around running shoes, right?
Great.
People are always looking for new running shoes. So as a user of ChatGPT, let's say you're looking for the best running shoes for trail running, and you'd like to price compare amongst the different options. You would quite literally, just like you do on a normal basis, asking ChatGPT or question, you would ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm looking for a running shoes for my trail runs. I would like to see a few options for pairs, and please provide the prices for these shoes. And so ChatGPT will then go and scrape the web. And I think that's where, from a brand perspective, I know we're talking about the consumer, but the brands now, every single brand that sells something online is scrambling to try to reverse engineer to figure out, how do I optimize my products and my search page to ensure that I'm having my products actually be surfaced by the algorithms, which is a whole other conversation too. And many brands are trying to figure out how to do this. But from the consumer side, you'll then, after a few short seconds, see the different options, and it'll probably provide a handful of options. And you'll get the prices as you requested, and you'll get the direct links to where those are being sold. And you can then, with this one-click checkout, pretty much buy directly from there. If you want, you can go to the original site to actually see and perhaps see more product photos, but you don't have to. From there, you can literally click buy, and your payment information will be in there. And I know there are some privacy concerns.
Yeah, where is it in there?
So with this new buzzy announcement that Stripe and OpenAI did, there's this token that's essentially ensuring that all of your payment information is not going to OpenAI, and it is completely hidden. So it's not going to be, I know there's so many concerns around privacy and data issues, and this is essentially saying that it will be very, very, very hard to crack that code of your payment information essentially getting seen by anyone.
Yeah.
For me personally, I see myself using it for primarily the commodities that I talked about earlier, right? The ones where I don't really need to do all of that research on my own. I feel relatively comfortable. Also, because of the price point, I feel like if it's going to be less than, I don't know, $50, and I know that there's not going to be a massive issue if, let's say, I get the wrong one and I don't love it, I'm not going to worry about it. Now, for something that's a little bit higher touch, that also comes with a higher ticket, those are items where I think the shopping experience is going to not necessarily take place in that agentic commerce protocol that we have been speaking about. I think in this case, the AI is going to provide you with options. And then, because of the price point, because of perhaps the significance of this item in your life, you're then going to do your research offline or still online, but you're going to kind of verify it and get validity through other sources. And I think that's where the favorite creators that you follow come into play and their recommendations, or IRL and going offline and talking to your trusted sources, your friends, your people in your life that you consult about these types of things. So I think the future of shopping with agentic, it's definitely going to play a major role in our lives, but it's not going to take 100% of everything.
That's kind of how I was thinking about it. I'm glad you brought up the social piece of it, because these influencers, like the social web that was, really over the last 10 or 15 years that has emerged, and creators, the creator economy, where people are navigating to other people to help them make decisions about brands, about what they buy, about what they trust. You're an expert in creators. You are a creator. Okay. How then do you think about how creators surface in this world? Because I hear you on, okay, I'll do this research, I'll get some products, and then I'll go, offline, sort of in a separate tab or whatever I'm doing to try to get recommendations. But I find brands that I love generally from people that I trust. That is how I'm buying things, either offline or online. How do you think about that?
I think it goes back to the power of curation in today's shopping economy. I think with AI, right, we've generally gotten to a point where we trust, and trust is is a touchy word because people have different levels of trust, but people generally feel comfortable using some type of AI tool in their daily lives. A lot of it is ChatGPT, right? I think that level of trust is there for certain elements. I think when it comes to shopping and commerce more generally, there's still a human element where I think when we're talking about creators, influencers, anyone that falls into that category, there's still this level of curation that we want to get from other sources that are not our AI. AI is, I think there's some degree of commerce that we still want that human connection, and that human connection is going to become even more valuable as AI scales and becomes as omnipresent in our lives as it will be. So I do think that the creator is not going to be outsourced to AI in the commerce experience. It's going to become even more important. But because of AI and the content that will be proliferated with AI, we've heard all about AI slop and how crazy the content world will become, and it will. It's so important for creators to double down and create communities that trust them. Like, this is the time. If anyone is in the content creation world, wants to get into it, I think it's sprinting season for any creator to really develop their unique value proposition on a human level so AI can't take them out. I think the smaller creators, of course, there's always going to be opportunity, but we're seeing it in so many levels. There's user-generated content, UGC, that's very much taking the role of a lot of these smaller creators who are just showing a product. They're not really putting their personality into it. They're more of just like a billboard or person to hold up a product, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's so much disruption going on. And at least from the AI side, the one place where AI can't disrupt is by becoming a human and having that human element when they're recommended goods.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I'm picking up what you're putting down here. I agree with you about, what you're sort of saying about creators and just this idea. I mean, as a person who grew up in news environments and journalists who were followed by readers every day, it's a trust connection and a credibility connection. I mean, that's as long as the brand itself is established and the trust is established, right? Because I think, well, you tell me, but I don't think we're just going to be shopping through texting with these AI bots.
Yeah.
How do you think about that as a creator and shopping?
I think there are ways that creators will be really riding the wave of AI in ways that we don't really see as much today. One example that I think about a lot is for your lifestyle influencer who's known for perhaps their style, and maybe we're in the holidays right now, so putting together gift guides and really recommending products to their followers, right? Like, that's their bread and butter. There will be things like whitelisted agentic tools where the influencer is able to kind of put in their parameters for goods that they are normally recommending, right? Maybe it's a color palette, maybe it's materials, textiles, things in their home that they recommend, right? And there are so many now data sources to feed into these agentic frameworks. And so this whatever we're going to call this whitelisted agent will essentially be that extension of the creator. So I think that is something we could very well see that in the next year. I kind of expect to see that. But it all comes back to the reason why that whitelisted agent would even exist in the first place is because people are bought into the human creator.
Right.
So back to what we were saying before, I still believe that to cut through the noise in this, now it's not SEO, it's, AIO, or AEO rather.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yes.
Really. Yeah.
Yes. I think really that humanness is going to be what breaks through the noise and what actually makes a product go from being something that you just see on a list or on a screen to, okay, now I actually want to buy this, especially if it's a more expensive item. You want some kind of human recommendation.
Yeah, I just think about my last purchase, which was last night, which was at Sephora, and it was Rare Beauty because Selena. Okay. I'm thinking about our age-old curation problem. You bring up the notion, which I agree with, that we actually want curation, and we want curation from someone we trust for all the reasons, but we still want choice. Ultimately, we'd like some help, and then we'd like to decide. Who's deciding what we're seeing, actually? I mean, you talk about all of these like brands that are now vying desperately to figure out how they're going to show up in this new AI optimized world. They've all been optimized for Google, but now we're changing, or they've figured out how to get their products within the Amazon ecosystem, but now we're moving. How is that prioritized? What happens with like serendipity and discovery? I guess, do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think that is the big conversation right now because in so many ways, right? The old guard was understanding search engine optimization, understanding how to make sure that something surfaces primarily on Google. Now that that's changing and people are going to be purchasing more of their products within chat, the engine or really the algorithm that provides those recommendations within the AI chat is fundamentally different. And I think ultimately, just like SEO, I think when people are really concerned about this, what I like to remind people is that ultimately for both SEO and this AIO, it's going into the internet and figuring, okay, what are the items that are really going to match what this person is looking for the most. So it's going into the different e-commerce platforms where this item is currently listed, right? It's going into search volume to some extent. It's going into reviews. It's going into organic user-generated content about it. It's going to Reddit. It's going to all of these sources. Now, I think the same way that SEO is not a perfect science, no one can tell you exactly, hey, if you have this many thousands of comments on Reddit and e-commerce sites that have your product listed and these specific words, keywords in the product description, right? No one can tell you exactly what's going on. It's the same thing with this new format. It's just now it's showing up in a different way. So I think people are freaking out a little bit too much, but rightfully so. It's a new way to purchase and people want to know how to figure it out because like anything that has massive tailwinds, if you're an early adopter and you figure it out, you crack the code earlier, there's so much upside. But I do think that there are people, and I say the same thing when it comes to SEO, but people who say, what about the indie brand? What about the smaller guy who doesn't have that many options, right? If this new form of AI search in commerce is surfacing only a few items, does that mean that the person who's ultimately clicking checkout or buy is only going to look at those few items and they won't ever see the indie guy? And to that I say, yes, to a degree, but that's the same thing for SEO. It's just showing up in a different format, right? Like that indie brand likely isn't going to show up on the first page of your Google results unless you're filtering for very specific keywords and they happen to match and it's, they got a ton of PR or press or media, whatever. So I think that it's more similar for the people who are fighting or worried about the smaller brands. It's more similar to SEO than we think.
I was interested. I was like intrigued that Etsy was one of the first official partners of this partnership. However, I thought that was so bringing these independent merchants in. How did that strike you?
Yeah, that was very strategic on OpenAI's part. That was 100% strategy and it was brilliant. They know that people are going to say, what the heck, this is going to change the world of commerce. Now I'm only going to see, because running shoes has been the theme of the conversation, I'm only going to see the Nikes of the world and I'm not going to see the smaller guys. Like this is ultimately bad for e-commerce, right? That was the fear. And they right away, it's not a coincidence that in that opening few days, I think it may have been on the day that they released the info about the Stripe partnership, they also did Shopify or Etsy, or it was within a few days of each other. Very close timeline, if so. And they said that they were partnering with Etsy because they want to amplify the smaller guys too. And so just like anything, it'll be harder for the smaller guys to actually be one of the few options that are highlighted, but they did that on purpose.
Yeah, they did it on purpose. I mean, this is launched. They don't have everybody onboarded yet. But I was also, I also was like, okay, cool. Let me see how this works. And so I do need to play with it. We talked a little bit about what shopping's going to be like, a year from now. We're talking about what it's going to be like, honestly, I feel like a month from now. I mean, we were all going to be holiday shopping over the next, 15, 20 days. No one was really anticipating this consumer behavior, I would say, except OpenAI and whoever else was thinking about it. Do you think there's something else coming here that we haven't anticipated, some big shift that we're going to see?
Oh, yeah. I think not necessarily driven primarily by AI, but I am very bullish on the future of live shopping.
Mm.
I think live shopping is something that we're seeing already. I mean, we have Whatnot, TikTok Shop. TikTok Shop in the US, by 2025, it's doubling gross sales volume. So last year it did $5 billion. This year it's on track to do $10 billion.
US? In the US?
US specifically. Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah.
And I think that right now it feels like we're hitting this point of, we're like on the precipice where it still feels in mainstream circles fringe, but next year it's going to be mainstream. We're just seeing so many companies of all sizes who have said, you know what, I'm okay jumping into this world of online shopping, or online live shopping, even though it feels very different from the curated, our own website or our whatever retailer we're stocked on. It feels very different. It's a lot grittier. It feels a lot more raw, especially TikTok Shop. If any of your listeners have not checked it out, check out TikTok Shop or Whatnot, because it's mind-blowing. And it's one of those things, it really feels like if you know, you know. If you're in that universe, you get it. You understand the structure and how even the payment works there. That's a whole ecosystem on its own. But if you're not in that world and you get introduced to it for the first time, it feels incredibly foreign and very jarring. So I think that's to come. Very bullish on it. And I think all new brands, regardless of the space that you're in, if you sell a product, you need to get into online live shopping immediately.
You're totally right. Every user should, or everybody listening should try it out. It's a completely different moment. I suppose then OpenAI has to figure out that world, which is quite different. Okay, I've got to do my holiday shopping. I have a method, and it's called I think about it and then I do it. Okay.
Yeah.
How are you approaching it? And maybe could you give the listeners some ideas about how to do their own holiday shopping with AI? It could be ChatGPT, it could be anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say something for the hard to shop for people, because
please.
I think those are the categories of people that we spend the most time trying to shop for. So what I'd recommend is, let's say you have a mother-in-law who is very finicky, fickle, and you want to get her something that she loves. What I'd recommend is you can actually put in a description of your mother-in-law, what she does in terms of her hobbies, where she shops. So usually you'll know like her favorite retailers, right? And you can provide a short little paragraph, and you can kind of then ask it, what are 5 to 10 items that you'd recommend that are trending or that you think, and you can also make it even more specific to say, if you want it for some kind of home good, if you want it for the kitchen, whatever, or recreational activity, and have it give you the options. I feel like when I've done that I actually did that for the first time a few weeks ago for my friend's birthday, and it gave me some amazing options. I was really blown away. That was actually my very first experience using ChatGPT for a shopping experience that I felt like I was really searching for something that was unique, and I ended up getting a really cool vase that I probably never would have found before. So I think that's a fun way. I'd recommend that all of your listeners try that out.
It's great. Okay, I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Sammi Cohen hosts Social Currency, where she unpacks technology, culture, and money, how it's all moving. Thank you for being here with us today. And good luck with your holiday shopping. And thank you for helping our listeners.
Thank you. This was so much fun.